So, thank you for singing that song with me. I actually really, really love the Hammer song, and that's its actual name, in case you were wondering. I think most people, we go back and forth. I'm all for Hammer song. There's songs from your childhood that, really stand the test of time, and then there are other songs. I never feel the urge to sing Itsy Bitsy Spider. That just never comes over me, ever. But this song, still kind of rocks even when you play it on, or especially when you play it on the ukulele. And perhaps, on this day of all Sundays of the year, it makes sense to sing this song. Matt and the West Virginia work campers got in their vans yesterday morning and headed south for their work week. And today, of course, we find ourselves, as we have somewhat frequently lately, in a construction zone. There are tarps everywhere outside. If you look carefully, you can see the extension cords that have been concealed in the corners. I can see a bunch over here. Stephen, don't trip on those. They don't look quite, sound. And we have other projects going on here too. If at coffee hour you come up and you peek in the office, you'll see that most of the congregation's worldly possessions are in boxes as we await a more effective storage concept. In fact, the general feeling for those of us who wander around here a great deal could be one of disarray, of a sort of unconquerable entropy, a void and darkness, which, coupled with the pull of summer and the first back-to-back fabulous sunny days that we've had, puts a distinct disadvantage to the church when it comes to attendance. Because even when we're not on a building phase, I find that the Sunday after Children's Sunday is a little hard to get up for. I'm probably not supposed to say that, because I'm the minister, but it's kind of true. It's hard to shake the idea of last Sunday being the end of the church year. You know what I mean? We come back here today and there's no Sunday school to speak of. The kids who normally take up the space, along with many of their parents, aren't taking up that space anymore. And we know that even though it isn't technically summer, most of us here are in the process of thinking and planning and looking forward to time away from home, which of course means time away from here. Even me. Yesterday I went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Have any of you been to Portsmouth in the summer? Of course you have. It's a great place to be. And we're wandering around there doing summer things, popping in and out of bookstores, eating ice cream, going to the park by the river. And it was hard. It was really, really hard to think of my sermon and of being here in the midst of all our stuff. But in the annual cycle of the church, this time, this quiet time surrounded by detritus, is really the best of times. Because while last week was all about endings, about saying goodbye, about wrapping things up, this week is all about that still small glimmer, that faint voice of new beginnings, of building up again. In the beginning, says the Bible. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. This beginning passage of the Bible, which I often drag out on this very Sunday, is about a moment of calm before the storm of creativity, of creation, before nothing less than the building up of the world. But it appears at first as a period of nothingness, when there doesn't seem to be all that much going on, kind of like today. But in reality, there is a great deal of action. Even in this first verse, there is that voice and that wind sweeping over the waters. And implied but not stated is the thought behind that wind, the first motion of creation. When God says, if only I had a hammer. If only I had a hammer. You see, all this chaos around us in May and early June represents the start of something new. But not just for the church, it marks the beginning of our personal renewal as we close a very busy season in our lives. In that story about the Zen master and the professor, we have that great image of a cup way too full to fit anything new. Instead, it's just spilling out onto the table and presumably the floor and that poor professor. There's no void to fill in that cup. And right now, our cups are full. Frequently, just as in this story, with our own thoughts, with all that baggage we carried through the winter and then added to in the spring, just hoping to get a chance to put it down for a little while. So we yearn for the emptying time, the relaxing time, the thinking, feeling time that comes with the slower pace of July and August, which makes it a perfect time to be here in church, to be growing and creating and building in community. You see, the church isn't really part of our baggage. Okay? The church isn't really part of our baggage, nor is our spiritual life. They do not need to be discarded for vacation. Instead, it is here as a source of sustenance for our many journeys. Every year on the Monday after Children's Sunday, whether we know it or not, the church leaders wake up and are presented with the various pieces and loose ends from the year before. And every year, slowly, carefully, we put everything together. Not back together, because every year it's new. We put everything together for that Sunday after Labor Day when church officially starts again. And this is an exciting process, and one that sometimes it helps have an actual hammer for. During this time of discernment and growth, we don't go in for too many rules. We do what needs to be done and what we feel like doing. Over the next 2 months, we will witness the repainting of the church and the cleaning of the lawn, the reorganizing of the office, the rebuilding of the garden once the hydraulic lift is taken off of it, the testing and development of new worship ideas. The summer congregation can tell you that's quite fun, even when we fall on our faces. The planning of the religious education programs, both for adults and children, will happen this summer. The faint beginnings of our ukulele-based ministry. The baseball game in Pawtucket on August 18th. Yes, we still have tickets. And numerous other events that will only happen now, during this time. A time of rest and refueling for each of us. A time of dreaming big dreams and making bigger plans. Honestly, I feel sorry for the folks who won't be here this summer. Where's the camera? I feel sorry for you. I really do. It must be a very different way to experience church to go without coming here between mid-June and mid-September. This is such a great and fertile time for reflection and resurrection. Missing this time in the life of the Eliot Church seems to me to be somewhat akin to missing Easter. And I'm serious. I mean, I think and I don't get a say in this, but I think that if Easter were to be rescheduled in light of the advent of electricity, heat, cars, internet, right? Global warming, perhaps, Lent would probably really begin in the middle of May, in the midst of our frantic chaos and troubling days of decaying carpools and traffic jams. And then it would end on the beach, preferably, in August, late August, just as the heat breaks. What we do here in church reflects what we do in life. And this is the time when we step back. Now is the time that we choose to become beginners again, to empty and refill our cups. And we do it out in the world, and so we do it here. So I urge you, and you, as I do every year, to make it to one more summer service than you did last year. To fit us in amongst the cookouts and the trips and the visits and the trashy novels. Not just for us, not just for your church family, but for you. For during this spiritual growing time in our lives, our community of faith and worship may be just the thing that we need. Amen.